I just completed the completion of my staff, and it's a staff that I'm really excited about, a staff with a lot of energy, and a staff that I'm very familiar with. You know, I look at that staff, and Joe Wickline and I go back to our Florida days. We actually started out as graduate assistants together. Sean Watson was with me at Louisville. Vance Bedford was with me at Louisville. Brian Jean-Marie was with me at Louisville. Chris Rump recruited some players out of his school when he's back in South Carolina. T-Rob had recruiting battles against him when he was at the University of Miami. And I've always respected Chris Vaughn. Chris did an outstanding job when he was at Arkansas with Houston Nutt, at Ole Miss with Houston Nutt, and then at Memphis. So you look at the staff, and then I had a chance to go hire Les, which is really big. And you talk about two Texas X's with Les and Vance. And it's always important when you come to a major university to get players that have played there and that has a pride and a passion, and it's great. And I'm so glad that Les came aboard on our staff. But this is a staff that we know what it's all about. We're teachers, we're role models, we're going to motivate, we're lead, and just a staff that are family men. And you want that with the players, because you want the players to have a chance to look at a coach and say, you know what, someday if I don't end up being here, you can go be an engineer, you can go be a doctor, you can go be a lawyer. But if I don't, I can go be a coach, and I can go emulate that young man just standing right there in front of me. But just so happy that we're aboard and finally have completed it. You know, what I've been doing here the last few days, I've had a chance to just meet with the players just one-on-one. Each player on the team, I met with them one-on-one, just to get a chance to really know who they are and what they're all about. And then I talked to them about who the parents are, just their background, where they come from, and then what I expected of them. And it's been it's been great meetings. It's so fun to just hear their ideals and what they think, and just told them how unhappy I was where the program is right now. And that falls upon all of us, and it's going to fall upon all of us to go get it right. But it's been just a whirlwind these last 3 or 4 days. But it's been fun, because it's just good when you get around the kids and had a chance to get around them.
The importance of Bruce Chambers, a guy that's been around this program a long time, Coach.
Bruce is super, and when you talk someone just familiar with this state and the recruiting area of Dallas, we're actually going to go out recruiting this evening. Bruce and I, we're going to Dallas, and then tomorrow I saw that schedule, and I said, he had me a lunch. I said, we're not going to eat lunch, Bruce, so you can get that lunch out of there. So we're just going to go. So you better find me another high school to go to. But, it's great with Bruce. I had a chance to sit down and just get with him. Met him a few years ago when he was at Dallas Carter. And actually, I had a player from Dallas Carter when I was coaching at Notre Dame by the name of Alt Maiden, and we talked about Maiden and just went back with those years. Then recruited some players. I actually had a player named Hill that played for me at Florida, defensive back out of his school that he coached. But we were able to just share some of the old times. But it's great to have someone just as knowledgeable as he is and can get the job done.
Charlie, is Joe Wickline going to call plays on offense? Or have you decided how it's going to work?
Joe Wickline will call plays on offense. He's the offense coordinator. He will call plays. But, Sean has been a guy who's also, and Les have called, Les being at Mississippi State, but all three of them will collaborate together. But it's going to be a system, when you look at offensively, you have 3 coordinators there. But Joe will call plays on offense.
It's generally unusual for the offensive line coach to have that job. Is he going to be up in the booth? Have you decided how that's going to work?
No, it isn't, because if you look across college football, there's a lot of offensive linemen, coaches that are coordinators, and because you look at just the mix of the run game, because when you get into the throw game, it's not so much of him not knowing, but he can always ask, hey, what do you think on this down, or what we're looking for.
Charlie, how'd you sell that to Sean?
Oh, well, it was we talked about he's going to be involved, so it's not like he's just totally out of it. But those guys be able to, they're older enough now, and the thing about it is no egos. And I told them that from the start, this is going to be a coaching staff with no egos. We're here to work together, and it's all about success. And we're here to win. And whatever we have to do to go win a football game, that's what we're going to do.
Can you describe your offense, what you expect to run?
Well, I like to run the spread, but the run game's got to be involved. If you look at the teams across the country, and it was so funny because I had a conversation, and I forgot who I was speaking with, but they said, all right, you take you look out west, Stanford wins the pack. And you think about it. They don't spread it out, and all those teams spread it out. They are a power team. They go run the football. You look at Alabama. You look at Auburn in the Southeastern Conference. You look at us when we were at Louisville. We weren't a spread team. We lined up, and we had a good mixture. And it's all about balance. You look at Oklahoma, but it's a balance, and that's what you want to see, a balance with your run and pass. Because you can talk about all those teams that go out there and throw that ball around, but at the end of the day, if you can't line up and run downhill and hit and punch somebody in the mouth, then you're going to have issues.
Coach, what's been your perception so far in meeting with all the players, having a new coach for the first time with all of these players? What's been your perception of them?
Well, it's you know what, and just being around them, really a good group of kids, and I know this is going to be a lot of fun, and I've really enjoyed just getting one-on-one with them. And they want to win. I mean, they sense it. They know right now that we need to raise the standards, and they understand that because the program is not where they want it to be themselves. When they admit to it, then you know this. You have a good way of changing it, and you have a way to go change it now because they realize the problem.
There's been a lot of talk about rules that you may have given the team, maybe moving players back on campus, and kind of your expectations. Can you talk a little bit about what you've told them you expect from them?
Well, it wasn't so much rules. The other night when I had a meeting, it was my expectation. But there are going to be rules, but it's just what I expect from them. And that's what the meeting was about. It's just expectations. This is what it's all about. You know, it's about core values in there. You know, just be honest, treat women with respect, no drugs, no stealing, no guns, but things that they were brought up on. But it's what you expect from the program. You know, it's what you're here to graduate. That's out of the rule. You're here to graduate. You're here to go win championships, and then you're here to go make yourself a better person. If we don't get that accomplished as a coach, then we'll fail that young man. And we're not going to fail these players. That will not happen.
Joey, are you expecting to run some people on? Or maybe that's a bad choice. Some people may not survive. Maybe tomorrow more.
Well, I don't know why they would not survive. And my aim is not to come in here and try to run players off because, you know what, at the end of the day, our job is to help young men. And it's not about you coming in and trying to just, pound down that hammer and slam the hammer on someone. Because I always think about this when young people fail, then whose fault is that? You know, when you go in and you run somebody else or someone else, what have you accomplished? Where do they go? You know, now you're just putting someone, we're trying to get them off the streets and you just added one to the street. We're not into that at all. And for me, I would do everything possible if one tries to leave to try to keep him here because I don't want to see him fail. You know what? You came here to get an education. Go get an education, and then go do something with your life. Now we have a chance for that young man to go better himself and become a productive citizen in society.
Charlie, you want the guys on campus the first 3 years living on campus?
Well, what I talked about with the players is that you have when guys start spreading out, and especially when they're young, because when you talk about your first 2 years and then your third and fourth year, now there's a separation because the younger guys don't get a chance to know who the older guys are. And I just wanted where, just find out, and you older guys are the one who established the foundation in this program. Teach them how to carry themselves the right way on campus. Teach them how to conduct themselves in the dorm. If they are out and they know who you are, then you can help them. But it's all about just maturing and growing up where the older players have to teach the young players, and you want to see that happen.
There's a lot of that about getting players, seniors to freshmen, to care about each other, to play for each other, as opposed to be in separate groups with their own different cares and wants.
Well, you always talk about cliques, and everybody's got cliques, and you got this group of guys who want to sit here, and there's a group here, and there's a group here, and you have all these different cliques. When you become a family, you start off as a group, then you move to a team, then you become a family. So when you become a family, you're all one. And now everybody's, they know what to expect, and they know the personality, and they can deal with it. But when you don't know the person and you get into a football game and we start playing, I mean, why would I ever play for you if I really don't know you? So, you're sitting there and something goes bad, you're not going to say nothing to me, and I know you're not going to say anything to me, but when you become a family, it becomes more important to you, so you won't go make that mistake.
Charlie, what will Pat Moore bring to this program, and what kind of changes do you expect to that strength side?
Well, Pat is, he's an outstanding strength, and the staff before that, you look at Mad Dog and what those guys did. Benny, they did a good job down in the strength program with the strength program. So you like to see the players, and you're always looking for toughness. You're looking for mental and physical toughness. Looking for guys to get stronger. You like to redefine some of the bodies. Get them. Some of our linemen need to get a little bigger, and some of the skill guys. But Pat is, he'll get the program going, and the only thing we need to do is continue to build on the program.
Charlie, when you're trying to hire assistants from these other schools, what was the perception that they had of this program?
Oh, this program has a lot of respect, and even from the outside, you're going to get respect here because of who we are, and the assistants, they realize that. But what happens is everybody want to be a part of it, so that's why you have to be very selective in who you go get.
Would you say that a lot of people were calling you, trying to get on the staff, or did you already kind of know how you wanted to go?
Well, not so much a calling me, but I have assistant coaches that everybody know. But I kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do.
The quarterback position, obviously critical. You weren't afraid to play Teddy as a young guy. Can you just talk about your opinion of that position at this point?
Well, I look at that position. You have two good players there right now, and now it's all about just developing that position. And I asked a question one time when I was at Louisville. I said to the team, I said, if there's one position on this football team that cannot have a mistake, what position is that? And to every guy in the room said the quarterback position. I said, okay, why is it that the quarterback position can't make a mistake, but you can? I mean, if a ball's thrown over the defensive back's head, it's a touchdown. I mean, if a lineman misses a block, he's going to run through there and pound that quarterback. But it's a position that is critical because it's the leader. It's the leader of your team, and it's a guy that has to make a lot of decisions for you at a critical time. But if we develop those quarterbacks the right way and continue to make sure that they're headed in the right direction and just get them back and get them focused and locked in. I think that we have some good players there at that position.
Coach, with so much new staff, obviously a new system and everything on offense, how do you guys sell the scheme offensively to skill position players, offensive recruits? What's the strategy?
I always say most offenses they copy one another. But in college football, it's a copycat system. It's not like somebody's doing something extravagant that no one else is doing. I mean, you watch teams play every Saturday, and you see them line up. Okay, everybody's okay. It's fast paced. If it's fast paced, they're up on the ball right now. But it's only so many plays they're running. So you can do anything you want to within your system. You can add and you can take away. It's just going to depend on what type of players you have and what can they fit to your system.
Charlie, do you like where things stand right now in recruiting? Obviously, you don't know the kids very well that you're inheriting, but you're about to go meet them all.
Well, I'm going to try to go meet them all. Actually, I wasn't able to phone any because I wasn't, until we got everything straightened out. But we're going to get an opportunity to go meet them all and just sit down with them and make sure that, that we keep the guys that we have in fold, keep them in fold. And then next year we can get started with a new coaching staff, get started out and go head out in the right direction of where we need to go and what we're looking for.
What's your opinion of the three defensive line guys who were committed because of Coach Davis and then they pulled? I mean, what is your take on stuff like that?
Well, I don't get upset because a lot of times players come to a school for a coach, and I always say this: you go to a school because of the university, and it's the university that provides you with the education, and because when you get that degree, it's not going to say the University of Charlie Strong; it's going to say University of Texas. So when you go get that job, that's what people are looking at.
Charlie, in your one-on-ones with players over the past few days, I know you want to divulge the details, but did you generally find that they're open to the expectations that you're setting for them, or some guys in for a rude awakening, or how would you classify that?
No, I think there was some of those, they just didn't know they don't know what to expect. And that can always happen with a coaching staff because they really don't know, but they're open and they're willing to work. So if they're willing to work, then the things are going to work out. But they're open to whatever we have, and they'll work out. I'm not concerned about that because Coach recruited some really good players there. And there's some good players in place there, and they've worked before, so it's not anything they're not afraid of.
Charlie, what did you learn from this transition as opposed to your first head coaching job in Louisville?
Oh, I'm glad I got some head coaching experience, especially for all this year. No, but this transition was it was a lot easier because of I've had head coaching experience and I've been around it. So now that when you've been around it, you know what to expect and you know how to put a staff. In my first time, I didn't, you take that job and then you go to your office and you sit down, you're like, wow, now what do I do? Where do I go? But now you have, because you put a plan together, you have a plan in place, so you just follow the plan.
How important was it for you just to kind of absorb things for, 9 days before you go out and sell this university?
Well, I don't know if I had a chance to really absorb between John and everyone else. I was getting pulled in different directions. So, but it was just good that, we had a dead period there in recruiting, so I didn't have to just jump right out and go recruiting. And it gave me some time to really get a chance to get to know the players. Because I just think it's so key that to know your team right now. And just get a chance to be around them as much as you possibly can, and they get a chance to see you and trying to, just because you're trying to match up personalities, you're trying to, as they're trying to fill me out, I'm trying to fill them out and just see exactly who they are and what they're all about.
Charlie, how much more do you need to add in terms of personnel to your personnel department, and some of the other off-field roles?
Well, what we're going to do is just sit down and just see what we have and just reevaluate. Because what was key is just getting the coaching staff put together, and then we can go and look in the other departments and just see where our strengths and our weaknesses are, and just make sure that we build it up and the right people are in place.
How much do has it helped that you have several different guys who have been labeled as a recruiting coordinator at previous stops, guys that are used to kind of overseeing the recruiting department? How big is that? Because you'll need guys in Houston, Dallas, West Texas, all that kind of stuff.
Well, what's really big is that when you talk about just those recruiting stops, you have guys that have coached that area and recruited that area. Like Tommy Robinson have been in Houston before. Chris Bond has been in Houston. So that was what was key, is that you have to hire coaches that understand the state of Texas, because there's so many great high school coaches out there, and they're familiar with those coaches. So when they walk in that school, the coaches have an idea of who they are because they've recruited there before. And that's what I was just making sure that when I got this staff together, like Les and Vance are exes here, and so a lot of high school coaches are exes. So now when they walk in those schools, they may have played with them or they played, before them or after them, so they're going to be very familiar with them.
Charlie, you mentioned Houston. How important is that as a recruiting base for you, and have you recruited there in the past for other schools?
Yes, actually, when I was at Notre Dame and even at Florida, we kind of bounced in, but not much. But we went into Houston. I think we may have had 1 or 2 players there. And I can remember when I was at Notre Dame, Grand Irons coming out of the Woodlands then. But it's an area that we need. But this whole state, we need to recruit and just recapture the state and make sure that our presence and that we're there and that we're seen and we're going to make a presence in those areas.
When you tell these kids to sit in the first row of class or second row or whatever you told them, you're actually looking for them to be role models, not just as football players, as citizens? Is that what you're going for?
Well, really, at the end of the day, what you don't need to do, I don't want to walk in a classroom and see a guy sitting in the back row and you can be sitting up front. And what's the difference? You're a student. You are a student athlete, so you're a student first. So I expect you to be up front, and you have a hat on, take your hat off in the class. And you don't put a hat on in my meeting, don't put a hat on in class. You don't have a cell phone out in my meeting, take your cell phone out. Give the professor the same respect you give me. Because you know what, they're trying to teach you. Their job is a lot more important than mine, because at least they're preparing you for your future, and they're trying to teach you something. So respect them and listen to what they have to say. But because I said, you know what, if you respect that professor, when it's comes time for a grade, and you may be between a C and a B, you're going to get that B just because you smiled, you was very cordial, you was very respectful. And that's all it takes, guys. It takes a little smile and just a little respect, and that goes a long ways. And that's all I'm asking for when we walk in the classroom. Just be yourself. I don't need you to be a phony. Just be yourself, but be respectful.
I mentioned walking into classrooms. There's stories that you actually did that in Louisville, that you checked up on guys in their classroom. Is that accurate?
Well, man, you got it all, don't you? No, this is what happened. When I was at, what we did was check classes. So I went into a classroom, and I walked through the back door like this, through a side door, and the professor was up front and was teaching. And she looked up and she saw me. She said, "Oh, we have a guest today." And I was like, "No, ma'am, I'm not a guest. I said, you see that guy sitting up there, and he was sitting on the front row. I will say this about the player. He was on the front row. I said, you see that player in the gray sweats? Last semester, he couldn't find a classroom, so I'm just making sure he's in class today.
Charlie, you and Joe coached with Ron in Florida.
Yes.
You got a spot for him somewhere in this operation?
I wish I did, because Zook's an unbelievable coach, and he did. He gave Joe and I a job when he's at the University of Florida. But I don't know if my man Zucker want to coach anymore. I think he's doing pretty good where he is and living that good life.
Why is Joe the right guy?
You know, guys pay their dues, and guys have been around great system. And you look at the system he's been around. I think he's been at Oklahoma State for 9 years. They've moved the ball very well, very good on offense. And when the guys have put in their time, it's like me. You put in your time, and then you want to be rewarded, and he's being rewarded.
Charlie, was there any consideration at all given to the fact that Joe's contract clearly states he must be an OC and a play caller? You know, if you wiggle out of you guys paying Oklahoma State.
No, I don't think it had anything to do with it. I don't even look at guys' contract. When I get a job, I call and say, hey, you want to jump on board? Let's go to work.
Charlie, you talked about meeting with the players and telling them you're not happy with where the program is, and they admitted it. Was there a common theme that, you know, they said might have been a problem in the past, one of your first couple things that you need to change to get this back?
No, a lot of times they said it. You know, they made a statement. You know, coaches, it's us. Because first thing I say, I don't hear an excuse. I don't want to say, you know, this, that, in it. What is it? And they say, you know, coach, it's us. You know, it is. And I always tell players this. You know, Coach Brown's an outstanding football coach, and he did a great job. But also, you players have a job to do also. So you need to get your job done.
What do you remember about going up against Wick Lions, you know, in practice back in 2002?
You know what it is with Joe? Just hard nosed, you know, and just goes, and his linemen are just and it talks about toughness and building toughness within the program, and that's what he does. And his linemen, you look at what he's did. Just look at Oklahoma State and what they've done. Very physical football team, can run and pass. They do a great job of balancing it, but you look at that offensive line, and they don't mind coming off the football, a downhill football team.
Charlie, you talked about the significance of you getting this job, and then a week later, James Franklin gets the Penn State job. Just talk about the dynamic of those two happening in about 8 days.
Well, I'm so happy for Frank, and you're looking at the hiring process now, and you know what? It's no longer that you have to sit back and say, hey, when is our turn going to come? It's happening for us, and now we've been given an opportunity. We have to take advantage of it.
You talked about Bedford and what you liked that he did in Louisville, why you wanted to bring him over here.
Well, Vance is an outstanding coach, and not only what he did at Louisville, even when we were at the University of Florida together, he coached defensive backs there. So you talk about Joe Hayden, you talk about Major Wright, Will Hill at the Giants, you know, Janoris Jenkins at St. Louis, and he developed players. But he also, what he does a great job is making sure that he put them in position to be successful. And that's what you look for on defense, a guy that can disrupt an offense, which he does with pressure. And Vance is not only is a good coach, but he's a good person. And I tell the players all the time, I've told these players, never once will we put you in a position where you're not successful. Never once will we ever downgrade you when we coach you. We're not about that. If we tear you down before we leave that field, we're going to lift you up and build you back up. And so don't ever think anything is personal. Yeah, I didn't like the way you played that play, but it has nothing to do with who you are as a person.
Time for two last ones, guys.
Charlie, when will you start spring practice, and how do you, as a new coach of the program, address looking at the depth chart?
Well, what we're going to do is spring ball. We're going to start after spring break because that'll give us enough time. We got to install offense and defense, and we want to give our coaches enough time, the players enough time to so that we can teach it. And when you look at the depth chart, you know, our only thing we can do is go back and look at tape. I watched the game today. I watched us play BYU, but just look at the tape and look at the players you have in place. But you know what? They'll get better because now they're going to have a chance to get in the weight room. So Coach Moore will be able to work with them all the way up till spring break, and then we come back off of spring break. We'll start spring practice.
What does Chris Rump bring to this?
Well, you look at where he was at Alabama, so he's a guy with a lot of experience, been around championship teams. So you're looking at the highest level, and he's competed at the highest level. And that's what you want to get in this program, because we've been there. So it's not hard for us to get back there because we've been there. So it's all about work and hard work, and that's what he brings to the table.
Why was it important for you to say this program is going to be about championships?
Because that's what you want. I mean, when you're the top program in the country, you have to be about championships.